Welcome to our series of instructional videos about big band section playing. This is the UMO Helsinki Jazz Orchestra saxophone section. My name's Ed Partika. We just started off with an excerpt from Sammy Nestico's composition. He wrote this for the Count Basie Orchestra, and it's called A Warm Breeze. And compared to some of the examples we had on some of the other videos that were basically where everything was voiced out, 4 or 5 part, this example has some things that are unison, 2 altos, or some 2-part writing. And so maybe this would be something to think about or to talk about, how to approach playing your instrument, playing in the section when we're not dealing with a 5-part or 4-part harmony. Is there something you do to change your sound or to change the side of your sound? What are the concepts that you guys use to make the sound so good?
Yes, in this example, in the beginning, we do have 2 voiced counterpoint going on, 2 separate melodic lines. The altos are doubled and the tenors are doubled. So whether it's a 2-part unison or 4 or 5-part unison, I think the thing is to just back off a bit from your regular volume. Also, timbre-wise, I'd say that you'd often strive for a less rich overtone series.
So do
you less buzzing.
Yeah. Well, sometimes. I guess this is a question. Then, do you think about changing the size or shape of your sound, or I mean, what happens there, or because when you talk less overtones, what is that? I mean, not just softer, but how do you achieve that?
Well, I think it's as tone production is, it's quite a complex thing in some ways. So, but mainly I'd say that volume-wise, back off. That less airspeed probably produces less buzz, less overtones. But also you might, this boils down to the basic concepts of tone production, I guess, that you should try different kinds of. You should really rehearse or practice different kinds of amounts of bass. One way on the saxophone is to slightly vary the amount of the lip on the reed. The more you have the red part on the reed, gives you more overtones. The less you have overtones. That's one thing. Also, I think what probably happens inside your mouth is also that the tongue may be not in so fast air position. I mean, that's something I can't really say, but I mean it's something that you have to anyhow have an ear for.
Right, exactly, and pay very close. Pay very close attention whether you're playing lead or in the section. You know, is this a multi-voice thing? Is it unison and exact? You know, so adjusting accordingly. Coming back to the recurring themes that we've been having, talking about constant and active listening. Now, another thing that we should maybe talk about is vibrato, because I think this is also very important. And there are some sort of general rules for vibrato. A lot of it is style-based, perhaps repertoire-based. Different bands had some very different concepts, especially talking about lead alto vibrato, section vibrato. And generally speaking, for example, the difference between your use of vibrato in a voiced out passage or a unison passage. What are the general rules in regards to use of vibrato?
Well, generally, I'd say that unisons are best and clearest without vibrato. So, we just strive for unity and felt presence.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, so generally speaking, vibrato lines, no vibrato, and then when something's voiced out, then you can start adding. But once again, this example we just heard from the Count Basie Orchestra. Who was your influence for your vibrato on this repertoire, this style of music? So a Basie Nestico chart.
I think it. You should know the work of Marshall Royal, of course, and it's really interesting because these pieces are very familiar. It's almost like instinctual that my body starts to produce kind of the operatic little bit nasal quality that Marshall Royal uses. Of course, there are other possibilities, but I mean, it's a fantastic tradition.
Well, of course. I mean, and it is something that it is talking about giving this music, giving it on and passing this tradition on, this playing tradition that is so closely associated with the music. And once again, coming back to another one of our recurring themes, going back to the source material. Going back to the original recording, which featured Count Basie's orchestra with Marshall Royal on lead alto. And if I just, before I let you continue, this is another one of the things that I've noticed amongst younger players, is that the way that people consume music these days, a lot of streaming, a lot of YouTube. So the thing is that sometimes it's not always very clear who is performing. So there is a certain culture of knowing the side musicians that has gotten, for a lot of young people, it's gotten lost. In one way that's positive, because we're maybe going away from hero worship, but sometimes it's extremely important to know who a specific player was for a specific stylistic or style that they were very important in creating. And then, of course, to follow the dots. So if you know Marshall Royal is an important reference, to maybe to find some other recordings outside of the Basie band where he played, or to be able to compare his style to some other lead alto saxophone player styles. Joni.
Also, in the basic context, I think it's also very important to ask or answer the question why the sax section sounds as it does. So you also have to pay attention to the other section players, like when you have sounds of Frank Foster or Frank West or Eddie Lockjaw Davis, and that quality they have pretty, I guess, open tenor mouthpieces. It just gives a width, and that's probably with a more modern sound isn't achievable.
Okay.
So one point also.
Exactly. Now, is this also something, now we're talking a little bit or quite a bit about lead alto, but for the section players, is this also something that you are very much aware of in the section? So is there a difference between the way you approach the tenor parts, for example, when you're playing some Basie music or as opposed to Duke Ellington? Or is it basically, once again, active listening and support of the lead player? Ville, did you have anything to say about that?
Of course, it's a matter of active listening and listening to the lead player to achieve the same kind of sound that he's producing with alto, to support him as much as possible.
But it's also knowing about the different, of course, being informed about the different big bands, the different styles, the different sounds of those bands.
Definitely.
Of course, the orchestras.
Yeah. It's kind of hearing the little older tenor sound in your head before playing. I think that helps a lot. I think it was it Jerry Burgonzi who said well that it's not enough that you can produce a good sound. You need to have it in your head what kind of sound you want to be able to produce it really well.
Yeah. No, that's very important. A visualization or a description of that ideal sound. And of course that ideal sound can change from piece to piece or from program to program, things like that. So yes, that's also a very important thing, developing your sound concept and the sound on your instrument. So yes, thank you.
And regarding this tune, I think compared to Groove Merchant, I think we are playing much more kind of legato style. So I'm thinking a lot of air, just like Joni said, that open mouthpieces, and I think he meant like a big sound and like full of air.
Fluffy.
Yeah, fluffy. And I think that then it's natural that you don't use tongue so much. We play with more legato style and let it flow.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you, very nice.
Also, what is forgot the word. Why is there a vibrato there? I mean, it also you can think about. Okay, you can think about vibrato as something that you add to, but also with this music, I come to the idea that since we are playing with a really open attitude, open breathing, not being afraid of sounding even a bit rude. But when you really sing out with lots of air, those high notes, it's as if the vibrato is the byproduct of that. So that you can't help but, you try to keep something. So I think you can think about things like that also. What produces that sound? It's kind of deep, but also quite natural.
Great. And now we talked about Marshall Royal as the, sort of the reference lead alto sound and style for the Basie band. And of course, if we're going to be talking about the history of big band section playing, Johnny Hodges is another very important reference. He was the lead alto player of Duke Ellington's orchestra for 41 years. And of course, he developed a different style. And for younger big band players, this is very important to know both of these styles and to sort of be able to switch back and forth at will. So now we have an example from the Duke Ellington Orchestra from the suite that was recorded and released in 1957 as an album. This is also the title song of that. It was called Such Sweet Thunder, and this is an excerpt from the title piece, Such Sweet Thunder.
May I still add one thing? It's about this example, the thing is that we are using a full vibrato in the whole section. And also for the younger people, actually, I like to think about Johnny Hodges as I liken him to almost like a synthesizer. I mean, he's the quality of saxophone player who's able to manipulate his sound in a really beautiful way. So, like a synthesizer, you can do so much to the sound envelope, and that's, I think, he's actually pretty. He could be a modern idol. So now we play.
He should be, yeah. So this is the UMO Helsinki Jazz Orchestra saxophone section with an excerpt from Duke Ellington, Such Sweet Thunder.